both sides got a lot of what they wanted to do today. The Democrats wanted to make sure, and Sotomayor wanted to make sure, they had no real significant changes or significant news that would put her in a bad light. And the Republicans wanted to get across their idea that they are more likely to support this kind of quote-unquote neutral or objective way of judging. And they also wanted to make a comparison to previous judicial nominees from the Bush administration that either did not go through or that had a really hard time getting confirmation from the Senate. And they made a lot of those points very clear, as the Democrats did, and they gave us something to look out for later on in the week.
I think what struck me also was that they got right down to business pretty quickly. I've been to hearings, Senate confirmation hearings in the past, where a whole day is spent with the senators making opening remarks, very general and non-specific about the nominee's record. But today it seemed like they all wanted to get right to it. And I think Senator Sessions led the way on that on the Republican side. He really he said made a few comments about Sotomayor's background, but he went right to the criticisms that the Republicans are going to make in the questioning starting tomorrow. And so in that sense, it would kind of compress the day more than I've seen in the past.
Each side really did have a pretty clear strategy here. And they wanted to do a couple things. They wanted to set themselves up for questioning for later in the week. So they referenced things that they'll probably bring up again and again. The Democrats talked about rulings from the Roberts Court that they think make the Roberts Court look activist, in the sense that the court overturned long-standing precedents. There was one case that came up a couple times related to vertical price fixing and involved a precedent that was almost 100 years old that was overturned. Two senators brought that up. On the Republican side, they set up sort of an idea of quote-unquote kind of ideal judging that they want to compare Sotomayor to, and to see whether or not she matches up to that.
I think the Democrats also really wanted to put the emphasis on her record in her 17 years as a judge, first as a district court judge and then on the appeals court. And I think the Republicans kind of co-opted that or thwarted that goal with kind of a counterpunch, where they said that in a sense that her record on the lower court is irrelevant, because when you're on the district court or on the appeals court, you're bound by precedent. You really can't strike out in a new direction. And they implied that, so of course, as a result, her rulings are moderate, whereas once she's on the Supreme Court, she'll become untethered, unleashed from precedent, and she'll become a liberal without any reservation. And I think that's open to debate whether that's really going to be the case. But I think in that strategy, the Republicans kind of preempted or wiped away one of the Democrats' biggest points about her.
Mm-hmm. But sort of in the same way, the Republicans gave Democrats a big point, and that they conceded that Sotomayor is qualified to hold this job, qualified in the sense of her previous positions, her academic record, nothing outstanding in terms of her personal or professional life that would disqualify her. We saw the Democrats really emphasizing her sort of up from the bootstraps story, her record at Princeton, at Yale, and on the district court and appeals court in New York. And the Republicans didn't question any of that today. They started all their statements, almost all their statements, by praising her qualifications.
Well, I think the Republicans did lay down the markers on each of the criticisms we've been hearing last month or so about Sotomayor, her comment about a wise Latina judge will make a better decision than a white male judge in many circumstances. And even though she has a good explanation or a plausible explanation for why she said that, they still are going strong in that direction and criticizing her for that. There are other statements in her past that she'll have to defend in the questioning starting tomorrow. And they even brought up the issue of international law, which is a theme that Republicans have been using against liberal judges for many years. The idea that it's improper somehow for the Supreme Court to cite foreign law or foreign court decisions in ruling on constitutional issues in the United States. And they painted Sotomayor as in that camp of liberal decision-making who uses extraneous factors like international law or like empathy or her ethnic background that are really, the Republicans are going to say is improper in the craft of judging.
And I think her statement today was a pretty clear beginning of a response to those Republican criticisms about the Ritchie case and about the wise Latina comments. She said that she really took a step back from the full implications of those statements, which if you read into them might seem to suggest that she was okay with her experiences affecting the outcome of a decision. Her statement today focused on how those experiences would just allow a judge to better understand a litigant's position rather than having a clear effect on the outcome of a case.
Well, I don't think she's going to win over any Republicans with what she said today in her opening statement. It was unusually brief, and I think the strategy for the White House was to keep it brief and keep it to a few main points, so that, you know, in the news reports on the evening news, her main message of being an impartial judge who applies the law to the facts, that will still shine through without a lot of extraneous material in there, and as well as her life story, her personal story of growing up in the Bronx under adverse circumstances and achieving what she's achieved.
There's a pretty limited, I think, a very targeted message that they're trying to send here, where you know, they finished Monday today around 3 o'clock, 3:30, and then they're going to start up with questioning on Tuesday morning, and that allows her statement to sort of be the final word on the day, to be sort of the headline in Tuesday morning's papers and the sound bites that are going to be on the evening news on Monday. Tuesday will be the beginning of questioning. We'll see questioning for all day, beginning at 9:30 Tuesday and continuing maybe into the evening. It'll start off first with the most senior members, and the most interesting questioning will probably come from the Republican side, certainly because they'll be on either the attack or just be much more skeptical of her record. We'll see discussion of the Ritchie case, almost certainly of the Second Amendment, and of other sort of hot topic areas that are in her record.